couple of Watson services. So I think in the morning you had a session from my colleague Soumya and Lalit. So we are just going to extend that and get some hands-on experience in using two of those services. So the first 1 hour, there's a 2-hour session. The first 1 hour we are going to do the Watson assistant hands-on tutorials, and the second hour is going to be on Watson Knowledge Studio. So I will be doing that, but I think you already have the link to the tutorials that we are going to use. So you can also, I'll again share that, and then you can follow along with that. So I just shared that link in the chat. So that's the getting started with Watson Assistant tutorial that we are going to start with. Okay. Okay. So hope you are able to see my.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. So you would have seen what Watson Assistant is in the morning. Just to give a recap, this is the chatbot service from IBM, where you will have the tools and capabilities to train and your own instance of a chatbot to understand various utterances from the user, various questions from the user, identify what that user is asking about, what is the intent of the user, right? What the user is interested in. Sorry. So what the intent of the question is, and then based on that you can have a response appropriately provided back to the user. So you are going to do a hands-on of building your own chatbot in your own instances, and then feel free to stop me at any point of time if you have any questions or you are not able to follow along. Okay. So the first thing is, hope everybody has created a IBM Cloud account. Is that a yes? Hopefully everybody has a IBM Cloud account. Yes, okay. So let's start by going to the Watson Assistant page in the IBM Cloud Catalog. So if you have already created a IBM Cloud account, so you can start with cloud.ibm.com, and this one, can I move this somewhere? So you can go to cloud.ibm.com and log into your it is going to show the dashboard. Show something like this, where you will be able to see your resources and other information. This is where you will be accessing all the IBM Cloud services. The best way to get started is to go to the catalog. You can see it in the right top where my mouse is. If you go here in the catalog, you'll be able to see all the IBM Cloud products that are available and services that are available. So the one that we are going to use is the Watson Assistant for creating the chatbot. So we start by selecting this Watson Assistant. This is showing up for me as a first tile. Probably for everybody it will show up as the first tile. Minimize. Watson Assistant. Go ahead. And it shows the pricing plan. What we are going to use is a free plan, which is called Lite, right? That is good enough for our initial purposes, and for students and for you to try out and create your bots. Initially, the Lite plan should be sufficient. So we will start off with this light plan. There are various regions in which IBM Cloud is hosted. There is still not an Indian region. We are working on it. But right now, the closest one is London. That's what will come by default. You can also select any other region. If you want, you can also provide a meaningful name for your service. So I can say Watson Assistant and like you can provide any name, and the resource group will be default. That's fine. You have a create button to the right. You can click on this create, and this will create your service. So this is true for every Watson service or even other services. You can go to the catalog, and from the catalog you can choose a service and select the plan. Most of the services has a light plan, so you can choose the light plan, which will be free, and then you create a service. So now after you have created this service, what you have is, right, in the left you have these tabs, right? So plan talks about what plan you are currently on, and you can change the plan here. The service credentials gives you the user ID and password for this particular service that you have created, right? So this is a specific to this particular service. Like there's an API key and there's a URL that you get, right? So the API key is the credentials for this particular service. This is useful for using any API based call, right? So let's say you don't want, so you want to build your own sort of UI, a very rich UI that you want to build, that you want to host in your own server and provide the bot capability. Then you can use this API key and the APIs to build that your application. But for our purposes, we will be using the Watson Assistant tooling itself. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'll launch the Watson Assistant. The Watson Assistant itself has all the tools needed for creating your bot, testing it, and even it gives a simple bot UI that you can embed in your application itself or in your website itself. So most of that is available in the tooling. If you want to build your own things, then you can use the API. And for using APIs, you will need this API key, right? So that's where this API key is used. Okay. So let me go ahead and launch the Watson Assistant. Hopefully everybody is through till this point, and everybody did their Watson Assistant service and are able to launch their Watson Assistant. If anybody has any challenges, just let me know. So by default, it will open and launch where you are seeing this my first skill, and there are a couple of icons here, right? So the first one to the left is called assistant, and second one is called skill. So let me start with the assistant part, and I see people are still joining. So for those who are joining, we are starting with the Watson Assistant hands-on lab. We are following the instruction in the tutorial, so you can actually follow and catch up by using the instruction in this link. The link is also shared in the chat. Okay, so let's get back to the lab. So what we have to the left is assistants and skills. If I click on assistant, what it is going to show is the my first assistant that it has automatically created, but you can also create additional assistant. So assistant is the layer which provides capability for you, to talk to, for any user to talk. You create a chatbot and for user to talk to your bot, right? So assistant is kind of like a layer where this takes care of session management. It also provides things like integration, where you can integrate that. You can have a preview UI. You can there's also additional capabilities available, like providing a search capability on certain documents. So apart from chat, you can provide a search capability all within the same UI. So all that capability is provided by assistant. So right now we already have the assistant created. So we will not be creating an assistant, but you can always create later an assistant using the create assistant button. Now let's come to skills, right? Skills is where the logic of a bot resides. So we have this skill called my first skill that has been created. You can also create additional skills. And then once you create a skill, you will attach link a particular assistant to a skill. So in this case, this skill shows that the my first assistant is already linked to the skill. So when you are asking question to my first assistant, that assistant will, since it's linked to the skill, it is going to come to this skill and find out the answer for the question being asked. So skill is where the logic and the model, the AI part resides in the skill. Assistant is a layer above which provides the user connection and those kind of capabilities. Okay, is that clear so far? Okay, so I click on my first skill, and here I see so many things to the left. I think you would have seen some of these topics in the morning itself, where Soumya covered some of these basics. So what is an intent? Intent is a collection of user statements that have the same meaning. So let's say you have a bot, and what do people typically do? People typically ask things like, okay, if you put a bot in front of people, they will say hi, hello to the bot, right? That's kind of sorry, is there something in the chat that I should be looking at? Or, oh, that's okay, that's not for me. So so what do people usually say? They say hi, hello. They kind of try to chat with the bot, right? So that is different way of saying a greeting. Some people might say hi, some people might say hello, some people might say good morning, good afternoon, how are you, howdy, right? There are so many different ways in which the same thing of greeting can be done. So what we do in an intent is we group all of them in a single intent called greetings, and put all these different examples as an input to that particular intent. And then similarly we create like multiple intents, and what Watson service does is it uses all these examples and kind of creates a classification model, which then whenever a new question comes in, it is able to identify with a confidence score which intent this particular user utterance belong to. Okay, so the intent is the first step for creating an assistant chatbot. So what we will start with is, for simplicity's sake, we will we have some pre-made intents in the content catalog. So you can either click on this link, or you can go to the left. There is this last link called content catalog. So you can go to that link, and you can see that there are a lot of existing intents that have been already provided by IBM in the service, right? So for example, I think Soumya would have shown the bots that we have created for the COVID-19, where worldwide IBM is working with a lot of governments worldwide, as well as private enterprises, providing COVID-related chatbot. So there are a lot of questions about COVID, and the intents are already provided as part of the catalog, content catalog, right? So what we will do in this lab is we will start with a general conversation topic. So what you can do is there are 10 general intents, like greetings and goodbye, and what are the capabilities, what can you do, and general chit chat. Those kind of things are covered in the general category. So what we will do is we will start by clicking on the button and adding it to the skill. So if you click on add to skill, you will see that general added, 10 intents have been added. Where can I find it out? It's an intent, so I need to go to the intents tab, where I'll be able to see those intents. So you can see that these intents like general greetings, general ending, general connect to agent, all those things are created. If I click on one of those examples, like general greetings, click on it, you can see that there are a lot of user examples given. Hello and good morning, good to see you. Hey, how are you? What's up? Who's this? You there, etc. Right? So this is how you typically create an intent, where you provide a set of examples to each intent, which are representative questions of how that particular intent can be asked by the user, right? And by providing such example for various intents, there is a machine AI model created by the service. And so now, if I go to this try it, there is a try it button. You can see it here, right? So if I click on try it button, you can see that Watson is training and Watson has finished training. So what it did was, when I added the 10 intents from the content catalog, it used these examples and trained itself to understand these 10 intents. So now if I ask a question like, how are you doing? It is going to, it finds out that this utterance called how are you doing belongs to an intent called general greetings. And if you click on this eye icon, it says that it shows the percentage confidence. So it is saying that it is 86% confidence that this particular question belongs to general greetings. But it did not give me a response back. Why? Why did it not give a response back? Because it did not have a response yet given or taught, right? So what we have done is we have imported these intents, we have created those intents, but we have not given the rules to say what should the bot respond when somebody asks a question which is a greeting question. Okay, so that is where the concept of dialogue comes in. So after you have created the intent, what you will do is you will typically create a dialogue. So I click on dialogue. Since this is a first skill that has been automatically created, you already see the welcome and anything else. In some cases, if you are creating a new skill, you will not see anything here like a welcome or anything else. So what you would have to do is you would need to start by creating there will be a create dialogue button. Okay, there's a question how to create a skill, and if you have not got a skill, I'll show that also. So you say you create a skill, right? If I went too fast, then I went to this, to the left there is the skills, right? When I go here, and then you have a button called create skill, right? Here you can say dialogue skill, and it's selected already. You can say next, and then I'll give a name, right? My new skill, whatever name. You specify which language you want, and then click on create dialogue skill. So now I have a new skill, my new skill, and again I can do the same thing where I go to the content catalog and I add the general category. I click on the add to skill, and those 10 got added. Now the intents got added, right? If I now come to dialogue, this is mainly for people who did not have it, right? So now again, if I come to dialogue, you have a welcome and anything else node, right? So this welcome node is a special node. This is a special condition. What you see here, if assistant recognizes, is a condition. Think of it like as a if condition, right? So the entire dialogue is a huge if else kind of a condition, where from the top you start and say if it's a welcome node, or if the condition is welcome, then this is the response. Else, if it is in anything else, then this is the response, right? So it's a huge if else kind of a node. So every node is a if else block, and the evaluation happens from top to bottom. So that is how the flow works. So in this case, typically when a dialogue is started, it starts from the welcome node. So you can change the response and say, welcome to I forgot, right? Welcome to my first part. How can I help you? whatever message that you don't need to save it, right? It automatically gets saved. So there is no save button. Whatever you type, whatever you make changes you make, if you just come out of that particular control, like in the text box, then you just come out. So here I said, welcome to my first bot, how can I help you? If I click on try it button, you can see that it is taken that change. Welcome to my first bot, how can I help you? Right? Similarly, for anything else, it already has multiple responses. So you can have multiple responses and say, randomly give me this response. So if I set it to random, then somebody asks a question that I don't understand, like, good morning. Good morning is a question that I don't understand because I don't have a condition which handles this good morning, right? Only those conditions which are handled in my dialogue, I can provide a response. You can see that it is picking up a response from here and saying, I didn't understand, you can try rephrasing, right? So the way dialogue works is it tries to find out a matching condition. In this case, when the user said good morning, it evaluated and it found that it's a general greetings intent. But then the way it will evaluate is it will start from the top. It will check whether it's a welcome condition. The welcome condition is false because welcome condition is only true for the first time. This is not the first time. Welcome message has already been given. So this condition is false. Then it comes to the next one. And next one is anything else, right? Anything else is like your final else in your if else condition, right? So else will always be true. And because it's true, it picked up a response from this node and it gave it as this node. So what we want is we want it to properly give a response for this good morning, right? So what I need to do is I need to create a new node within my dialog so that general greetings can be handled, right? I should not be handling good morning separately. I already have an intent called general greetings. So I need to handle general greetings now, right? So how do we add a node? You can say, you can click on this overflow button, there's 3 dots, and say add node below. Right? If you click on add node below, it has added a node below and it has opened that node for you to edit. Okay. So now we can provide a meaningful name. We can say greetings. This is a human readable name. This is nothing to do with the bot, right? I mean, this is just for, this is not used in the evaluation. It is just a node name. Condition is what is very important. If assistant recognizes, now what should be our condition? If assistant recognizes an intent called general greetings, right? So that's why I put the / general greetings. So if assistant recognizes hash general greetings, hash is the keyword that Watson assistant uses for intents. So if assistant recognizes general greetings, what should be my response? I can say, good day. Let me know what I can help you with. Right? Any meaningful message that you want to give to the user when the user greets the bot. Now let's try it out. Right? Now, if I go to try it out and say good morning or how are you? Right? Now what happened? It found that how are you belongs to general greetings. And remember our huge, if else nodes, right? It matched the condition of general greetings. And so it then came and say that, okay, assistant, if the assistant recognizes general greetings, it has to respond with this text, which is good day, let me help you with. So it responded with that. Okay. Everybody doing this along with me, because this is hands-on lab, right? This is not a session, this is not a presentation, this is a hands-on lab. So I'm okay. I'll just see if with welcome as well. Okay. All right, so I think people are everybody is able to follow along. So let's go to the next step, right? We are given for greeting. So what else we want to give? Let's give for general ending, right? Somebody says goodbye, so you can always come here and try goodbye. Now goodbye match general ending, but because we don't have a general ending related node created, so it went to anything else and it gave, can you reword your statement? I'm not understanding. That's a anything else thing. There is also this functionality where there is this map icon, right? So if we click on that, it actually highlights the node which gave this response in blue. So if I click on this, you can see that anything else is marked in blue. So we can easily find out where the response is coming from. Especially if you have like hundreds of nodes, if you just click on this map icon, it takes you to the node which is giving that particular response. So it's a very useful feature. So in this case, we want to handle the general ending also. So again, same step. Click on this node options, add node below, and you can provide a general ending kind of thing and say hash general ending. Right? If assistant general ending, I'll say hope to see you soon. Right? Any message that's meaningful. Now if I say goodbye, okay, it's giving hope to see you soon. Right? Now if I say hi, it matches general greetings. It's a good day, let me know what can I help you. So basically we have trained this bot to recognize and respond for two questions, right? And any different way in which you ask it, based on the training, it will be able to identify and provide the response, right? So this is the very basic bot that we have built, right? And so this is a try it out. This is for development. How will you put this in your website, for example, right? So for that, what you have to do is you have to come to the assistant, right? And remember, I did not create, I created a new skill, my new skill, but I did not create an assistant. So what I need to do is I need to create an assistant first because my skill is different. So I'll say if you are using the my first assistant, then you don't need to do this. But because I am using this skill called my new skill, which is not linked to any assistant, I am creating an assistant so that I can link my assistant to this skill that I created. Okay. So some of you may not need to do this based on whatever you are doing. You can figure out whether you do it or not. Right. So I'll say my new assistant. I'll take the question in a minute once I finish this particular flow. Okay. Here I will select my new skill as the dialog skill that I want to link this assistant with. So now this my new assistant is linked to this dialog skill. Okay. So now how do I chat? I click on this add integration and there is a preview link. So this is a simple widget that can be hosted, that is hosted on IBM web page, but you can use it for testing and you can embed this on other places. So if I click on preview link, I can click on create. It will create a preview link. So now what I can do is I can click on this, I can say open in new tab. So now I get this bot, which I can embed in my website or something there, right? And this is like a bot where the same thing, right? If I say good morning, it's going to say good day, let me know how I can help you. If I say see you later, it's going to say hope to see you soon. Okay, so my basic bot is working. I'm able to check it from outside in a separate bot URL also, right? So this will use the API that's been exposed to talk to the bot. It automatically happens behind the scenes. Okay. So this kind of what the first tutorial talks about. There is, the preview, and the next step is to build a complex dialog. So that is what we are going to do next, right? So we are going to build a complex dialog. Okay, great to hear that it's working. So I'll click on this building complex dialog. You can open the building complex dialog tutorial also, because that's what we are going to do next. But meanwhile, let me quickly take if there are any questions. Okay. So let me see the questions. Okay, integration step. Do you want me to do that again? Okay. Sorry, I was too fast. Let me do that again. Okay. Let me close this. I'm going to remove. I'll delete the assistant itself, right? I'll start from beginning. So this is my new assistant I created. I will delete the assistant. Deleting the assistant will not delete the skill. Right. So I'm safe. I just type delete to confirm and then click on delete. So I will start from beginning, right? Specifically around creating the assistant and integrating. So I will start with creating an assistant. So I'm in the assistants page and I'm clicking on create assistant. And first I'm starting by giving a name to it. So I'll say my new assistant, right? And there is an option for enabling preview link. If you do that, preview link will automatically be enabled. Otherwise, you can also manually enable the preview link. So I'll say create assistant. Okay. So now I have this assistant page, but the assistant does not have any dialogue, any search, nothing is configured. So now this assistant cannot talk to anybody. It doesn't know who to talk to, right? So what you have to do is you need to first add a dialogue skill that assistant can talk to. And the users are going to talk to assistant, but assistant needs to know where that information is coming from. That is where the dialogue skill is needed. So I click on add dialogue skill. Okay. So I click on add dialogue skill. It shows me the existing dialogue skills that I have. It also lets me create a new skill. It also uses sample skill. It also uses me to import a skill. We'll not talk about import now. What we will do is we'll add an existing skill because we already have created the skill. We have only not attached that to the assistant. I think I need to keep the chat open. Okay. A lot of those questions are not for me. There are other questions also coming in. Okay.
Bhagesh, actually, Soumya here.
Yeah.
You keep going. Actually, I'll just see the monitor the questions,
Okay.
and I will let you know if anything that you need an attention and repeat it. I'll do that for you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Soumya. Okay. So so here we are selecting my new skill, right? Now under my new assistant, you can see that under skill, under dialogue, it is showing my new skill. Okay. So now this assistant knows that there is a skill called my new skill, dialogue skill, which it can use to answer the questions from the user. Okay. But how will the user ask question? For that, we need integrations, right? We need some UI for user to ask the question, right? And that is where integration comes in. And so what I'll do is I will say add integration, right? And there is for the free plan, there is only one integration called preview link. Okay. And actually, when I created the assistant itself, a preview link was created. Remember the check mark, the checkbox that I had, which is creating the preview link. So you can actually see the preview link here itself, or you can also use the add integration to create a preview integration. So in this case, I click on preview link and I gotta try it out and share the link, right? This link. So this link is my link for a chatbot. So if I open that link, this is now connected to my bot, and I can say hi and bye, right? So it is answering the question that I'm asking with the appropriate responses that I have already given the assistant. Okay, so this is how you can use the preview link and the integrations. So this is what we have done so far, where we have done the first exercise. Sorry. Yeah. So first exercise, which is a simple dialogue. So let's now get on to the next step, which is building a slightly complex dialogue, right? You would think that whatever we have done is very, very simple, right? And it is very simple. And the idea is for non-technical people also to be able to create their own bot, right? That's why we have done this in a very simple manner, so that anybody can create a chatbot, right? You don't need to be an AI expert to create the bot. So now let's talk about creating a more complex. So in this case, let's take a scenario. We are talking about a restaurant called Truck Shop Government, which is a bakery kind of, it has got multiple items, experts on bakery and all. And we want to handle questions related to the restaurant, details on the menu, and how to cancel the order, right? So each one of these are separate intents, right? Just think about the intent that we talked about. These are separate intent. The user might want to know more about the restaurant. They may want to know about the menu, or they may want to cancel the order, right? So we will see how much we are able to proceed. You have this link with you. This is a public link. So whatever we are able to do in the next half hour, we'll do. And if something is pending, and there are other more advanced ones also, so this you can try it out. Whatever we are not able to complete. Okay. So I'm not going to rush through this. Whatever we are able to do, I think we will go slow so that you are able to understand. So the first thing that we are going to do is ability to answer questions about the restaurant. Already had a general about you. So remember the list of intents that we had in our skill. There is a general about you, but this is about the bot, right? The questions are, do you have a name? Do you know who you are? How old are you? This is about the bot. This is not about the company, right? So we cannot use this intent, because this intent, the general about you, is about the bot. We need something about the company. So what we have to do, we have to create an intent call about restaurant. So we'll start with that. So what we will do, we will create an intent call about restaurant. How do you do that? Go to the intents page. I'll give you a few seconds. If you are not inside the skill, go to the skill, click on the skill that you're working on, and you will come to this page. There, make sure that you are in the intents, and then click on create intent. Okay. And now we need to create the intent. We start by giving a name to the intent, right? What is the name that we talked about? We are going to give about underscore restaurant. Okay, so I'll copy this, paste this. So, and I can give a description about information about my, okay. Description is optional, but you can give it. And I have created an intent. Now, what we need for intent? We need examples. We need a lot of examples, right? That is how a model can be built to understand what the user is asking about, right? So we will start by adding individual examples. So I'm going to switch and keep adding these examples one by one. If you don't want to add it one by one and you want to add it in a single shot, you can also create a CSV file using Excel and then add it in a single shot. Okay. But right now, even if you add 4 or 5 examples, that's fine. It will still be able to build a model using that. Sorry. Oh, Sheetal, you don't have the link. Are you talking about this link?
I don't think so, Makesh.
Yeah. Okay. Just to be double sure,
But
I'll still share this link. If
okay, okay. I think that is maybe certificate link or something else because
no, IBM
I am
Cloud is.
following that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Magesh, you please continue. That is, participants and all, they are talking about the certificates. You please continue, please.
No, they are asking for this link only. So because this was a different one than the one that I shared initially.
I have
So
asked for this. Okay.
okay, so I have added 5 examples, 6 examples. So what you can see is, if I click on try it, it has already started training based on the examples that I added. So every time you add some examples, it starts training the system. It updates and it creates a new model where the new intent can also be recognized. So it's an incremental training that it does. It happens pretty fast, and so it should take just a minute or so for you to be able to test this intent that you added. Okay. So now I have added this intent, and my Watson has finished training also. But we already saw that intent by itself is not going to answer. I need to create a dialog node so that that intent can be answered. So what I'm going to do is, from the dialog tab, I'm going to add one more node, right? So I'll add it below the general ending. I'll say add node below. You can do it above also. As long as you do it between welcome and anything else, it's okay, right? Because it is going to do like a if condition. It's going to look from top to bottom, and any matching thing is enough for it to do, right? So in this case, we are talking about information about the restaurant, right? So about restaurant. And the condition is, if assistant recognizes hash about restaurant, what should be the response? Any response, they have given a pretty big response for the truck stop government that we are working for. If you want, you can click on this link, it copies it in your buffer, and then you can paste it here. Or you can provide your own response, right? This is a tutorial. You feel free to go here and there, diverge from the flow. That's okay, right? You need to try it out, and then only you will figure out how things work. So in this case, I'll say, tell me about your restaurant. And it has matched about restaurant, and it is giving the response of the truck stop. So it's saying, you can join us for lunch or order a cake from a bakery, right? So now I have given a pretty detailed response for the restaurant, and it's not just about who I am, but what is available, and also invited them to my bakery. So the responses has to be engaging. To have a good chatbot, to have a good chat experience, it's important that your responses is very engaging, responses is good, right? So let's continue with our flow. Hopefully everybody is done till this point and it's working, right? You're able to try it out. Okay. One more thing that they wanted was, they want a picture of their shop. Okay. I missed that part. So within the Watson Assistant response, we already have a text. What we'll do is we'll also add a picture. How do we do that? By adding on another response type. So if I click on add response type, I get so there is already a text, and I get one more text. Instead of text, what I do is I change this to an image, right? So now the the information that I need to pass for an image is an image source, which is important, and other title and description are optional. So I pick up this image URL. So I copy this and paste it here. So it's a URL to a JPG, which is the So now if I ask the same question, and if you from the try it out, if you press the up arrow, it will actually automatically fill the last question asked, and you can keep pressing up arrow, down arrow. So that's a trick if you don't need to type the same question again and again. So if I ask this question, okay, what it has done is it has given the answer and then showed the image, but I don't want that. I want the image first and then the text. So what I do, there is this move up, the up arrow, right? Or there is a move down here. So I can use either of it. So in the image, I say move up, and now the order has changed from image coming first and then the text. Now it looks good. Let me try it out. I ask the same question again, and I get the image, and then I get the answer. Okay. So now I'm all good. I'm able to ask this question, get the image, get the answer, right? So this particular question I have handled fine. At the same point, can't we embed image and text? Image is handled is different. There are some HTML tags that are supported, but when you're building your own, so if you want to put image first and then the text, then you can use this. But if you want to put it as an HTML embed, then you can do it like that, right? So if I want to put this image, for example, before this join us buttoner, I'll say image source equals and now if I ask this, hopefully my I need to do a /img again, right? Is this HTML right? Let's try it out. Yeah, but the formatting and all, it's a bit off because it has got only this much space, and so the formatting has gone for a toss. I need to give more properties within the image itself. So if you're using HTML, you need to use all those HTML related stuff. Okay, /image should not be there. Okay, but either way, if you're using image, make sure that you use the appropriate like the size and all the additional HTML parameters that you want to pass. But you can pass HTML like this. So the point here is, yes, you can pass HTML parameters. It is still not formatted properly, so I'll go ahead and remove it. But the point is, you can pass HTML, but make sure you are having the other parameters passed properly to the HTML tags. Okay. So now it should.
Yeah, Magesh, there is a one question that, okay, we see so many nodes. Is it for each question? I mean, it is not for each question. It is for a conversation flow, what we are expecting for the, from this chatbot. Yeah, you can add more points.
Sure. So it is for, at this point, whatever node we have created is for each intent. So an about restaurant can be asked in so many different ways, right? What's your story? Again, it is about restaurant. Again, the same node is giving this answer. So we didn't have to create a separate node for what's your story versus, tell me about your restaurant. What we did was we created an intent which understands similar questions where the intention is the same and grouped together and providing a same answer for them. So basically the nodes provide the answer, a unique answer, and the question comes from the understanding of the question comes from the intent. Is that clear? Okay. So let's look at the next question that we want to handle. it is about the menu. Menu is a bit complicated because this company has multiple menus. You know, they have got veg menu, they have got baking menu, they have got multiple types of menu. They have a standard menu, they have cake shop, vegetarian menu, multiple types of menu, right? So it's a bit complex. But the starting point is still the same. The first thing that you have to do to be able to answer any question is to create an intent to understand the type of question. So in this case, we want to understand questions about menu. So we will create an intent called menu. Okay. So what I will do is I will create an intent. I am going to the intent tab and I'm creating an intent called menu. Handle questions about menu. And I will start adding some examples, right? I want the menu. We have the food. Specials today. And these are, see, think about these questions, right? Different people will ask menu question in different ways. And what we are giving here is some variety of how a menu question can be asked. So you are taking a representative set of the possible questions related to menu and using that to train the model. Okay. So this is how you will typically train any ML system, right? So what you have, and you know, you guys are experts, so you will already know, you know. So what we are trying is we are creating a ground truth here for the ML model, where we are saying that if these are some of the examples of this particular class or you know, category. So based on that, it is going to build a classification model. And then for newer questions, it's going to find out which class the question belongs to. Right? So now I have built this menu related intent. Okay. Now I need to think about how I want to handle my dialogue for menu questions. I don't have a single menu for everybody. So instead of giving a single answer, what I want to do is I want to ask the user back in terms of what menu are they interested in, right? Are they interested in veg only options? Are they interested in the day's menu? Are they interested in bakery menu? What they are interested in, right? So this is kind of like a back and forth, right? So bot is just not about one question, one answer. But for a question, you can ask a question back. Let the user choose one of the options from the, you know, whatever the bot is giving. And then based on the option, you can provide a further answer. So that is the next level of complexity that we are going to do in this particular menu use case. Right? So what I'll do is I will create a new node. Okay. I'll create a node below. And questions. It's always a good practice to give a description so that you can understand what an intent is for. And then my intent, the condition is if assistant recognizes menu, what should be my response? What am I going to respond with? I'm going to say, in keeping with our commitment to giving fresh only, we keep changing. Right? This is text. You can find today's menu on our website. But I'm not going to stop here. I'm also going to give them an option to choose from in terms of what menu that they want. Right? So apart from this text, I'm also adding a response type for option. So you have this add response type. We already saw we can add text or image. Now we are going to see a third feature called option. Option is basically a bulleted list of, you know, clickable options. When the user clicks on something, a particular value goes back to the bot. Okay. So in this case, what is the option that I want to give? I want to provide 3 options, right? So I'm going to say standard menu, vegetarian menu, and cake shop menu. Okay. So I'm going to say add option. I clicked on the add option button and I got a list label. So I'll say standard, and here I gave a value of standard menu. Vegetarian, and I gave an option of veg menu. And I added another option called cake shop. And I said cake shop menu. Okay, let's test whatever we have done. It's always good to test as you are building. So I'll say what is in your menu. Okay, so I got the response which says, you can find today's menu on a website, and then these options. If you want, I can also add a message which says, which menu do you want to see, right? So that is the title here. So I can say, which menu do you want to see? That becomes the title for my list, the options, right? So if I ask the same question now again, it is saying which menu do you want to see, and now it is showing standard, vegetarian, or cake shop. If I click on standard, the standard menu went as a response, but it is not answering it at the correct level because we have not even provided a node to answer for standard menu. So again, it is going to the same loop because it is going again to menu, and it's saying, which menu do you want to see? But we don't want this loop. We want different response for standard menu, vegetarian menu, and cake shop menu. And this is where entities are very useful. Entities are used to capture the context, a known context that we want from the question. So we know that for this question, the answer will either be a standard menu, vegetarian menu, cake shop menu, right? So what I can do is I can create an entity for menu, which will capture the information that, this is a standard menu, this is a vegetarian menu, this is a cake shop menu, okay? So we saw intents, we saw dialogue. Now we are going to create an entity. So click on entities. And we only have 5 minutes, but we'll try and complete this one first. Okay. So I'm going to create an entity, and I can give a name, probably menu or menu type. So here they're saying menu. Entity name, I'm going to say menu. Create an entity. An entity is a grouping of related concepts, right? Here the concept is menu, right? And I have a standard menu, I have vegetarian menu, I have cake shop menu. So each one of these becomes my values, and each value can have a synonym, right? Synonym is basically the same words with the same meaning, or phrases with the same meaning, right? So here I'm going to say standard, and as a synonym I will put standard menu. I'll keep it simple. Excuse me. And I say add value. Similarly for vegetarian, I'm going to say vegetarian, and I'll say veg menu, and I click on the plus. It shows automatically a new synonym, so I can keep adding additional synonyms. So I can say vegetarian menu, and other, veggies. So I can add any number of synonyms basically, and I'll say add value. After you add a value and a bunch of synonyms, then you can click on add value. That gets added to this entity, right? So there is a standard, there is a vegetarian. I also need to handle cake shop, right? So I'll say cake shop, synonym is cake shop menu. I don't need to repeat the value here also because value is already there. I just need synonyms of that. Cake shop menu, cake menu. So now I have added these values. Okay. Hopefully you're able to follow along and are able to create the menu entity also. Now, how do I use this menu? So I need to again go back to the dialog, right? And because this response is coming from the menu node and needs to be handled after this response, I need a child here, right? You understand what I'm saying? The child node, parent node is for handling back and forth conversation. If the conversation ends, then you don't need a child node. But if you ask a follow-up question and you are expecting a response, then you need to create a child node. So in this case, I will create a child node first for my standard. Okay. So I'll say standard. And if assistant response, I will not start with an intent. I will directly say entities. And I'll say menu. And menu is standard, right? So at menu colon standard means if the user provided a menu which is of type standard, then this particular node's response needs to be provided. So for simplicity's sake, I'll say, this is my standard menu, right? I'll not add the menu here because, for time, for lack of time, I just wanted to differentiate the response. So I said this is my standard menu. Similarly, what I have to do is I have to add another child node for the next type of menu. Remember, the response can be one of the 3 types. So I will add a node below. I should not make it a child to this, right? All the menu will be in the same level. The child menu, standard menu, vegetarian menu, cake shop menu, it will all be a children of the menu question, which is the top level question. Okay, so this one is vegetarian menu, and I'll say assistant recognizes at menu colon vegetarian, and I'll say this is similarly. I will add one more node below this and call it cake shop menu, and because there is a space, it automatically created a bracket, right? And that's automatically taken care of. Don't remove the bracket because the bracket is here because there is a space. Okay, and then say today's special is mango cake because my wife is baking one today. So I have the answers here. All right. The reason I put it as a child node is because this needs to be handled only when one of the responses given as part of this particular question. Okay. So because I have changed the dialog a lot, what I will do is I will click on this clear so that everything is cleared. I am starting a fresh session. So let me clear this. And I'll start a fresh session. I'll say not standard menu, but what is in your menu. And now if I click on vegetarian, it matched the entity called vegetarian. And so this is vegetarian menu. Okay. So this is exactly what we wanted. Based on whatever the user clicks, the appropriate response is given. Once this response is given, the control has gone back again. So if I now say cake menu, it will not give me cake menu because now the control has gone to the top level, and again it matched the intent, which is menu, and it is providing the response from this intent. Now again it is asking which menu do you want to see. If I click on cake shop, it will now give me the cake shop related menu. Okay. There are more advanced features in terms of handling this, where the user directly asked cake shop menu instead of asking this. You can directly handle and say, today's special is mango cake. There are more advanced capabilities. We are just touching the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of capabilities, and the tutorials, even this one we couldn't finish. I have given enough overview for you to understand the basics of how the assistant works, what's an intent, what's an entity, what's a dialogue, how you handle a particular, if you want to handle a question in your bot, what you need to do, you will first create the intent, and if there is any follow-up question, or if there's any information contextual that you want to handle, then you will move to using a context variable, sorry, the entity, right? And then the dialogue is used for providing a response to that particular question. Okay, so that's how you will create every dialogue. But if you want, there are other capabilities, things like adding integration. There are more complex functionalities like slots. I think there is some say, right? Another way you can address is slots, right? So there are functionalities called slots. This is the documentation page. So feel free to look at all the tutorials and also the other pages. Improving a node with slots, digression. These are, you'll keep getting more advanced with each one of those tutorials, right? So any questions so far with respect to assistant? Anything in assistant? Okay, Manoj has raised a hand. Yes, sir. Any questions you want to ask? Okay, so let's switch and move to the Knowledge Studio. Okay, so the next session, next 55 minutes, we are going to spend on getting ourselves familiar with another service within Watson called Knowledge Studio. Right? What is Knowledge Studio? Knowledge Studio is a tool for building for domain training of your documents or your text, right? So how do you train your system to understand domain terms in documents? For example, you have a machine learning book where there will be a lot of technical terms like algorithms, different algorithms or different measures like precision and recall and accuracy. These are measures, right? So you maybe in a news domain, you need to understand where they are talking about a person or a country or a capital or a currency, right? So every domain has got its own set of what we call as the named entities that you want to extract. But how do you do that for your own domain? You cannot build a particular model which can extract universally across any kind of domain. You need to train the system to understand your domain. And the way, even for business people to do that, is using the Knowledge Studio. So Knowledge Studio is IBM Watson tool for domain training of documents to understand entities and their relationships within a particular document. I think it would have been covered a lot in the morning, but just for completion's sake, I'm just giving you an elevator pitch, in a very high level overview. So again, we will start from the Watson service page from the IBM cloud. So go back to your IBM cloud, and since you have already created the Watson assistant, you will already see the service. Now we are going to create the Knowledge Studio service. So again, go to catalog, same step, and it is showing the Knowledge Studio here. You can also search for it, but here it's already showing Knowledge Studio, where you can teach Watson the language of your domain. So I'm going to click on this Knowledge Studio. give a name to it. One of the important thing with respect to the region is Knowledge Studio is more a design tool. Later, after you created the model in Knowledge Studio, you will deploy it in other Watson services like Watson Discovery. Right, Watson Discovery you would have seen in the morning, which will be used for extracting information from documents. So you create the model in Knowledge Studio and then deploy that model into Discovery so that Discovery can extract those entity information, right? So make sure that you create the region, the both Knowledge Studio and Discovery service in the same region. So right now I'm creating in Frankfurt. So next time when I create the Discovery service where I want to use the model created using the Knowledge Studio, I should also create the Discovery service in Frankfurt only. So that's very important. So remember where you created your Knowledge Studio instance and create the Discovery also in the same region. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create this. So now I have the Knowledge Studio service created. I can go to Manage tab here. If you go to the Manage tab, similar to what we saw in Assistant, even here we have a button for launching the tool, and there is also credentials that have been created for it. Okay, so it is very similar to Assistant in that aspect, where you have a button for tooling. There's a Getting Started tutorial button. Okay, are you able to hear me? It's showing some network issue for me.
We are able to hear you. I am able to hear you.
Okay, thanks for me. So I'll click on Launch Watson Knowledge Studio. I think it is still setting up my Knowledge Studio. Okay, so my Knowledge Studio is set up. It's available. Knowledge Studio is actually used by a team of people typically, right? When we go to a customer and take their documents and help them train, there will be it's an SME utility, right? Subject matter experts train the system to understand the entity model within their documents, right? So it will not be just one person training it. There will be multiple people who will be training that. So typically you will have multiple users. So those can be handled in the settings page. So there's a manage service details where you can, there is a facility to add users and provide them with different roles. So you'll have administrator roles, you will have people who are annotators. Annotators are people who are going to train those documents and other roles, right? But we are in the light plan, which is a free plan, and only one user is supported in the free plan. So so it's not really applicable for us. We'll just stick with the single user, but just wanted to show that there is a capability for multiple users also. So now, identify custom entities and relationship in your data is what we want to do, right? We want to identify entities and relationship. We want to create a model which can identify our own domain specific entities and relationships. So I will create a workspace to do that. I will choose this. Okay, I'll create a workspace. I'll just give some name, sample workspace. And you can also say which language and other advanced thing. I'll just create it. I'll take the default and I'll create it. Okay. So once I have created this workspace, there are multiple things that you see in the left side. Okay. So the first, what is the first thing that you need to train for your model, you need a type system. What is a type system? Type system tells what are the entities and what are their relationship. So for example, if you're talking about news domain, then we'll say, okay, I have this entity called person, I have this entity called country, they have an entity called organization, and so on, right? I have 40, 50 entities, and then they are also related. So a person will be the leader of a country. So there is a relationship between a person and a country. Oh, I'm getting an echo. Somebody has to go on mute. So, so there is a relationship also between entities. So two parts, right? One is entity types and the other is relationship types. These are the two things that are important for what we call as a type system. Okay. For this demo purpose, what the tutorial has given is it has created a type system for you. So you have created this, right? So I'm in lesson 3. If I'll give this link again, just for people to be saying that. This is the link I'm using. And if you come to lesson 3 procedure, there's a download the EN-Clue2 type system .json. So let's download this. Separate one. Let me save this. Download link file. Okay, so I have downloaded this file. This is a example of a clue type system. Clue actually stands for knowledge from language understanding and extraction, right? This is basically the news related type system that IBM research has built. So that's what we are going to use for our tutorial. So download this EN-Clue type system, and then we will go to assets, entity types, and click on upload, right? So I'm in assets, entity types, and I'm going to upload an existing type system. So I can drag and drop, or I can click, open browser, and I have this EN-Clue2 type system. Choose. It has already selected this, and then I'll say upload. Okay, so you can see that it has got 52 entity types, like people and money and organization and organ and substance and product and blah blah blah, right? So there are a lot of entities that the research has done. You know, the scope of this tutorial is not to discuss the individual entity types, so we'll not go there. But you can understand what kind of entities, right? You know, like if there is a news article which says Narendra Modi visited Ladakh today morning, here then Narendra Modi is a people, Ladakh is a location, and morning is a time period, right? And visited is a relationship between place and the person, because the person visited there. So there are multiple information that you can extract from the single sentence itself, right? So that is what these entity types capture. What are the important information that I want to extract from my documents, or from my news articles, or from my from my from my company's documents. So you can, once you have imported this, you can also edit it. For example, if you follow this, they're saying, remove the award part from money. So if I click on this, sorry, there is an edit button, and I click on, there is a delete. I delete it and I can save it. Okay. So so basically you can add additional entity type, you can edit the existing entity types, all that you can do. That's pretty much what you can do in this entity type. There are also relationship types that has been defined, like sibling of an animal is a sibling of another animal, or you know, an event is a part of many event meetings, right? So this way, an organization could be a subsidiary of another organization, and so on. So a relationship exists between one entity type and another entity type, and there's a lot of pages. Right? A degree is awarded to a person or an organization or people. A weapon is an instrument of a crime or a violence or an event. So there are, between our entities, there are, if you take one entity and another entity, there are so many different relationships that can possibly be there between them, and that is defined in the relationship type. Okay. Then what we have is dictionaries. Dictionaries are, right, existing knowledge that you can bring in into your, building of the model. So basically, you are building model. Let's say you are building a model on various algorithms. You already have a list of algorithms that you know of, right? So instead of having a human to actually annotate them, you can bring them this information as a dictionary, and that will help create the model much faster, right? So that is where dictionaries are very useful. So the next thing that we will do is adding a dictionary, right? So dictionary, there is a CSV file that has been shared. So from lesson 4, you can download the dictionary items. I'll say download link file. So this CSV file is saved into my computer. I have downloaded this dictionary. Okay, and then we need to first create a dictionary. Okay, so create a dictionary. Let's say and then I will upload this dictionary. Okay, so I have uploaded this dictionary. These dictionaries are basically, can I use this? Okay, so these dictionaries are basically names of companies, right? Apple, Google, Microsoft, etc. So what I want to do is I want to map this dictionary to an existing entity type called company. No, not company. What is it? Organization? Yeah, organization. So now this dictionary is attached to a company, an entity type called organization. And I can come in and I can edit. I can search for it. Let's say, for example, I'll search for IBM. IBM is not there. So I can add an entry and say my surface form is IBM, and lemma automatically becomes IBM. And I can also add international business machine or big blue, right? And of course, it's a noun. So I'll change this to noun. It's not an adjective. And I have saved it, right? So this way I can import a dictionary, and I can also add additional entries to this dictionary. Okay, so these are some of the basic steps that we have to take to get the basic assets done. Once we have done this basic assets, then we will be able to start creating a model. So are you guys done till this point where we have created the dictionary and imported a dictionary? Yes, okay. Okay, I just took a break there. So the next thing that we will do is we will create a machine learning model. So we have created workspace, type system, and dictionary. Now let's create a machine learning model. Okay, so click on this link in next step, learn how to create machine learning model. I will also give the link again, the chat. Okay, so this is the second link. This is the machine learning model that we are going to look at now. So how are we going to create a machine learning model? Similar to Watson Assistant, what did we do for a model Watson Assistant? We created a ground truth containing examples of utterances and intents, right? That is for the chatbot where it needs to identify the intent. But here we want the model to identify entities from text, right? So what do we need to do? We need to have some example text where those entities are annotated by subject matter experts, and that becomes our ground truth. And then using that ground truth, a model can be built, and that can be used by services like Watson Discovery, right? So the first thing that we have to do is we have to create document sets, right? We need to bring in some documents which has got some sample text which needs to be annotated. So in our case, in lesson 1, there is this documents new.csv file that has been created. So let's download this file. And then from the workspace, assets, documents, we need to upload the document sets, right? So assets, documents, will upload a document set. Documents new.csv file. Okay, so this CSV file actually contained 14 rows. I mean, if I open the CSV file in Excel, for example, or we'll open in numbers. Right, this is not being formatted. I'll open it in Excel, or we can see it here itself actually. So if I click on this, these are the document names, and these are different technology articles. So here we are talking about, Microsoft has given the world a look at its upcoming online synchronization service for this mobile called My Phone. Some articles, technology articles written from different sources: Computer World, Business Week, Right Hand, etc. Right. So we now have a document set which contains a bunch of documents which can now be annotated, right? But we also know that we have a dictionary of company names, organization names. So why not make use of the dictionary and let the system itself annotate at least those organization names, so that my later job is easier, right? I can just focus on the other aspects in terms of annotation rather than having to annotate even the company names, because I have a dictionary with me, right? So that is the next step, which is pre-annotating with a dictionary-based annotator, right? So what is pre-annotation? Pre-annotation is a step that we are doing before a human annotation, where we are giving a dictionary based a dictionary and saying, okay, anything which matches this particular dictionary, annotate to the corresponding entity type, right? So what we are going to do is, in our dictionaries, we are going to select the organization entity type to match it to our dictionary. This step we already did, right? I have already done this step. So basically what they're saying is, in the dictionaries, in our dictionary, the clue dictionary that we created, the entity type, we have to set it as organization, right? That's something that the mapping that we have already done. Okay. Now, on the machine learning model pre-annotation dictionary, we have to apply this pre-annotated machine learning model pre-annotation. There's a dictionary based annotation that's available. If I click on this, okay, I can say I have already done the mapping, so I can say run pre-annotators. So I'll select the pre. Am I going fast? Or
yeah, I don't see any complaints on the.
Okay.
Somebody said it's okay. Somebody said yes. It's okay.
Okay.
Going good.
Okay. All right. So the pre-annotator, I'm selecting dictionaries and saying next. And which document set I want to pre-annotate on? I want to annotate the documents new.csv. Okay. So I'll select document new.csv and then I click on run. Yes. Do you want to proceed with the pre-annotation? Yes. Okay. So now it is running the pre-annotators, right? So the pre-annotator will actually use the dictionary. And for example, remember we created our dictionary for term called IBM. So now in the documents, wherever there is a term called IBM, it will annotate that to organization. Right? Similarly, for Microsoft and other company names that were there in the dictionary, the pre-annotator will automatically annotate them as an organization. So that kind of reduces the effort of the human annotators. That's why we are doing this step. Okay. So we have done the pre-annotation. Now we have to create an annotation task. So now the pre-annotation is done. If you want, I can go to my documents and I will be able to see that the pre-annotations. So if you go to the documents, and if I check on, no, not here, I need to go the annotation. We'll do that later. Sorry about that. Okay. So the next step we want to do is we want to start the annotation. What is annotation? Subject matter expert basically looks at each document and say, okay, in this sentence, this particular word belongs to this entity, this particular word belongs to this entity, and so on. Right? That is the annotation that they are doing in the UI itself just by selecting and clicking. Right? No programming needed. It's all done for the subject matter expert without having any AI understanding. They are just doing the clicking and be able to create a ground truth that can be used to build the model. So what we will do next is, from the machine learning model annotations, we will create an annotation task. Machine learning model annotations. We'll create an annotation task. Click on add a task. Just a second. I'll take a quick water break. Create a task name like just annotation. and a deadline, something which is in the future, that's fine. Now, I need to create an annotation set. So how do I create an annotation set? I can select how much of the documents that I want to create for this annotation, right? I have and how much I want to assign to each one of my annotators. Typically, the annotations are done by multiple people, right? Because you don't want to just base it on a single human annotator. Humans make mistakes. So if you have multiple people doing the annotation, then you can kind of verify the annotation work of both the people and see how consistently they are doing the annotation. Because annotation is the ground truth and the model is purely based on the annotation. And you all are experts, junk in, junk out. If your ground truth is not good, your ML model is not going to be good. So it is very, very important for the annotation to be good. And for that, we have the ability to have multiple human annotators to do the annotation. Right? So in this case, we only have one person. But if you want to kind of try out how it happens, then you can actually add one more set with the same name. So I'll say Magesh Rajamani for both, but I'll say set 1 here and set 2 here. So I'm going to create two sets, set 1 and set 2 for the annotation, and how much I want to overlap. Right? This is very, very important. The overlap part tells me that if you have two sets, you cannot give the same question to both, right? Then they will be really having a lot of documents to annotate. But how do you find out whether they are doing in a consistent manner? Overlap at least some percentage of your documents, right? For example, if I have 14 documents, and let's say I'll say 20% overlap. 20% overlap is 28, maybe rounded off to 30. Then there is 2.8 rounded off to 3. Then 3 documents will be overlap between set 1 and set 2. And the remaining will be shared between those two. So they will have 3 documents which are common between both, and the remaining will be unique documents. Then what we can do later after they have done the annotation is compare only those 3 which are common between those two, and then see, okay, if these 3 documents which they are common, if they are doing it in a consistent way, let's assume that everything else they have done in a consistent way, and we can approve everything. If they have not done these 3 in a consistent way, then there is some problem. Let's bring them into a single meeting. Let's find out why they are same document, 2 people doing annotation in different ways. Then there is some problem in understanding of what a particular entity type mean, what a relationship type mean, when to annotate a particular entity. All that questions come, right? Because annotation is a human process. It is a bit time consuming. So it's always important to have a overlap between multiple sets. So in this case, I'm going to create 2 sets with a 20% overlap, and I say generate. Right? So now what you have seen is there are 2 sets that have been created. Set 1 and set 2. And to see each one of those, so we will start talking about the annotation, right? So if I want to start, okay, let me take you back to what we have done, so that you are in sync, right? So we have done all these and generated and saved. So now the next step is annotating the documents. We are going to annotate the document using the document annotator, right? So we will start with machine learning model annotations. So we are having a machine learning model annotation, and let's go to annotation tasks. Oh, okay. Oh, I haven't completed this. Oh, okay. So I didn't add this to task. Sorry about that. we missed adding the task. We only created the sets. So this was the task that we're creating. And I'll say add to task and add to task. So these two have been added to the task, and now I have saved. Okay, so now the task has been created, and there are two sets that have been assigned to me with a deadline of 7/3. Okay, so this is where the human annotation starts. Typically, we are annotating, giving to two different people, right? So what they'll do is when they log in and they come to the annotations, they will go to the annotation tasks, and task, they will only see one set. They will not be seeing two sets because the same annotator is being used. That's why two sets are showing up here. But in actual real scenario, you will see only one set, and the human annotator will start the actual annotation. So let's pick up set 1, and let's pick up some document, right? Technology news.tv. These are the documents that have been assigned to me. So I'll pick up GMA news.tv, and let's see what we get. We get a kind of like an editor where to the right you have entities with different color coding. To the left you have mention, relationship, co-referencing, etc. And then the actual text of that particular document here. What you can also see is IBM has already been annotated with a particular color. And if you want to know what the color is, if you go down, what is it called? Organization, right? Organization, right? So organization has this light green color that it has got already annotated. How did it get there? How did IBM automatically get annotated? Not because it's an IBM product, but because we ran the pre-annotated step, right? So not just IBM, Microsoft, and all other things would also have been pre-annotated. So now I don't need to keep searching for organization and do the annotation because that is already taken care for me in the pre-annotation step. So what I can do is I can start looking for other things. Like I can see IBM founder Thomas Watson. Thomas Watson is, I know, is a person, right? So I click on Thomas and then Watson. Then you can see that there is a blue border that is formed, right? You can also, if you keep clicking, then it'll actually annotate a lot. If you want to edit something, like if by mistake you have selected more than what you want, and if you want to remove this, what you have to do is click elsewhere, right? You can click on, click outside, that will go away, right? So I click on Thomas, I click on Watson. I have a single block of Thomas Watson, and I want to treat them as a person. So I have selected this. I now come here and I click on person. Once I do that, I can see that this Thomas Watson color has changed to pink. Right? Can you see that? Is it working for you? I'm just waiting for a couple of yeses in the chat before I proceed. Okay, I got one yes. Okay, thank you. So so this is how we do the annotation, and you can actually do more. You can all look at all different types and do a complete annotation. But because of time, let's just stop here. We have done at least one annotation additional as a person. Now what we did was a mention annotation. This is called a mention. This is a mention of a person or an entity, right? IBM is a mention of an organization. Thomas Watson is a mention of a person. But we also know that there is a relationship between Thomas Watson and IBM, right? What is the relationship? That's a founder. It is given here itself, right? IBM founder Thomas Watson. So the sentence itself says Thomas Watson is the founder of IBM. There is a relationship. So I want to annotate that relationship also. So how do I do that? I need to click on the relationship tab. Now you can see that the right hand side has changed. Now it is only showing the relationship type. It is not showing the entity types because we are in relationship. Okay. So let's find out what is the relationship type that matches this particular relationship. Founder of, right? There is a relationship called founder of. So if I click on it, you can see that, okay, yeah, these two relationship, we can use this founder of for these two relationships, right? So before I can click on it, what I have to first do, like earlier what I did was I selected the text and then click on the entity, right? So similarly, I need to select the entities and then click on their relationship type. So what I need to do is, Thomas Watson is the founder of IBM, right? So if I start first with person, this is important. You should not first click on the organization. We need to first click on the person because person is the first thing within the relationship. Relationship is directional, right? So there is a first entity within the relationship and there is a second entity that is not exchangeable. So IBM is not the founder of Thomas Watson. Thomas Watson is the founder of IBM. So first start with Thomas Watson, which is the person. When first click on person and then click on organization. Automatically an arrow comes from there, and to show which type this particular relationship belongs to, you need to click on founder of. Okay, so now this arrow has become more straight and the founder of shows up at the top. If you want me to do that again, I can do that, or if you're able to. Okay, somebody says can't listen. Is it not audible? Okay, audible, thanks. So everybody able to create this relationship between person and organization and mark that relationship type as founder of, right? Okay, so now let's say this work is done, right? I know there are other entities in relationship, but for our demo purposes, for the lab purpose, we will just do this one change, and then what we will do, we will change this to completed. I can keep it in draft or in progress, but since I'm done for this particular document, I'll say this is completed, and then I click on save. Okay, so this document is completed, and I can say open document list. What I'm going to do is, I don't want to spend the next 2 hours annotating the documents. I want to actually also demonstrate what happens next, right? So for the time being, let's assume that we have annotated. Human annotation has been done for all the documents, and I will say submit all documents. Okay, so I'll click on submit all documents. It says, do you want to really submit all the same documents? I'll say okay. Now all my documents are completed and submitted. So let me click on close here. Okay. Now I'll go back to the task. Now the first task says it's submitted. Second one is still in progress. So let me submit the second set also. So I'll say annotate, and I'll blindly submit the documents, right? If you see that the earlier document that we picked, the GMA news.tv, it's not there here, right? There were other documents which were overlapping, but this document did not overlap. Anyway, we will go ahead and submit all documents. Okay. So I'm going to click on submit all documents in the second task also, and click OK. This is completed. I'll click close, and I am going back to task. Okay. So now both my documents annotation tasks are complete. They have been submitted. Okay, so we have completed the lesson 4. GMA news, creating the entity relationship. Till here we have completed. We have submitted all documents. Okay. The next step is analyzing the inter-annotator agreement. What is inter-annotator agreement? Inter-annotator agreement is the level of agreement between multiple annotators who are annotating the documents. We saw that, okay, multiple people annotate document. We also had an overlapping set of documents. We can only compare apple to apple, right? We cannot compare one document with another document and say whether they are annotating in the same way or not. But there were some documents which are overlapping, right? If I view the set of documents, Brightband, Gamma, Computer Worlds, Iniki, Focus, Fast News, and what is the other one? So Brightband, Gamma, and all are common in both the document set, right? This is like an overlapping document. So let's for a moment, let's assume that this was done by one person and this was done by another person. And this person would have done the Brightbox and Gamma in one way, and this person might have done the Brightbox and Gamma in slightly different way. Then we can compare the annotation that was done on those two common documents by these two people and find out how much they agree, right? Do they agree 80%? Do they agree 20%? Whatever is that number, right? So this inter-annotator agreement calculates the consistency in annotating by comparing overlapping documents across the annotation sets. Okay, so let's click on the annotation, click calculate inter-annotator agreements. Now there were no, we did a submit all, right? We made the change in only one document, and that document was not a common document. So we are having a 100% match between those two annotation sets. Typically that will not be the case. There will be some differences. Then you need to analyze what those differences are. And also you will see NA in lot of entity types, because a lot of these entity types were not annotated at all. Only one entity type was annotated, which is organization, which is having a 100% match again, right? So in this case, we are seeing a 100% match, but that will not be your typical case, right? You typically there will be some kind of differences. Then somebody needs to work with those annotators, figure out what the differences are, and then come up with an agreement. Okay, but in this case there are no issues, so I will go ahead, select these two and say accept. Okay, so I will accept the selected annotated and this now becomes my so before accepting, it is saying that there are some documents which are having some conflicts. So now I need to check the overlapping documents for conflicts. So let me check for conflicts here between these two sets. Okay. There are no conflicts actually, but it's forcing me to check for conflicts. So I'll check for conflicts and save it so that there are no conflicts anymore. Sorry, is this happening? I'll say resume. Okay, I need to All right, let me do this. Okay. Adjudication. Oh, sorry about this, guys. I am in annotations, tasks, and I was checking for overlapping. Okay, so the reason is that there are some documents which was part of one annotation set and some which are not part of another annotation set, right? So what I have to do is specifically for Bright Hand and Gamma Sutra, I just need to annotations. So I can do it in one way, which is select all annotation, accept them, and then promote them to ground truth. That is one way of doing it. The other way is check documents. Sorry, I can say promote to ground truth, right? Because this change is good, I can promote this to ground truth. So now that particular thing is gone. So I go to the next one, go to resume, and I say promote to ground truth. So this was the one that I missed out. So here I can promote this change to ground truth. So now there are no overlapping documents. So if I then come to the task list, now this status is incompleted. Okay, so this the step of looking at the inter-annotator agreement and adjudicating and promoting to ground truth, that we have done. So the next step, the final step, is to create a machine learning model. Okay, how do we do a machine learning model? We have to come to the machine learning model part and performance. So we have a ground truth now set, right? Where based on our pre-annotation, there is a ground truth set. We need to train and evaluate the model. So I click on train and evaluate. I select all the document set, and I'm saying that keep 70% as a training set, 23% as test set, and 9 set as 7%. This is the recommended set, right? This is typical, ML, where you keep aside a set for a set of documents for testing and for blind testing. So we are only going to use 70% of our document for training and keeping aside some for testing and blind. So I'll click on train and evaluate, and the training has started. Okay, the training is typically going to take anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes, right? So that's the time it takes to train the model based on the annotations that you have done, and also evaluate using the 3 test set how your ground truth is, how your model is, right? How much positive it's getting, what is the precision, what is the recall, what is the F1 score, all that different metrics it is going to give after the training has been completed. Okay, so I'll give it a few minutes for it to train. Any questions you have